On the edge of the world, where mountains touched the sky and mist wrapped around the trees like whispers, lay a village untouched by time. This was a place where everyone knew each other's names and every door was open to a neighbor in need. Laughter echoed down cobblestone paths, and stories passed from generation to generation, like heirlooms stitched with both joy and sorrow. In this village lived Mira, a young girl with eyes as bright as the stars and a heart that held more kindness than most could imagine. Little did she know that soon, her small town would be thrown into an all-consuming darkness, testing the courage and kindness of every soul who called this place home. And in that darkness, one small flicker of light, one single candle, would become a beacon, showing them the way forward, not just in their village but in their hearts. This is the story of how one girl's simple act of hope sparked a fire that even the fiercest storm couldn't extinguish.
Once, in a small, misty town nestled in the mountains, there was a quiet village known for its serene beauty and close-knit community. In this town lived a young girl named Mira, who had a kind heart and curious mind. Mira's family was poor, but they were happy, finding joy in small things. They would share a simple meal together every evening, and Mira would listen eagerly as her grandfather told stories by candlelight, their only source of light at night. One day, as the village prepared for winter, a sudden storm struck, bringing with it a darkness so intense that even the bravest villagers shivered. Trees cracked under the force of the wind, and the mountains were covered in thick clouds, blocking all traces of moonlight. As the storm worsened, power was cut off across the town, plunging everyone into complete darkness. The villagers lit whatever candles and lamps they had left, but they all knew these supplies would last only a few days. The storm showed no signs of stopping, and soon fear crept into the hearts of even the most courageous. One by one, the families exhausted their candles and oil lamps, and soon the village fell into a quiet, tense darkness. Mira's family was down to their last candle. Her mother warned her to save it, lighting it only when absolutely necessary. For Mira, the thought of sitting alone in the darkness was terrifying, but she obeyed, knowing how precious even a little light was. Meanwhile, Mira's grandfather lay ill in bed. He was the eldest member of the family, and his frail body was no match for the winter's chill. Mira adored him, and as he grew weaker, she began spending all her time at his side, holding his hand and telling him stories, just as he had once told her. She wished desperately for light, not just for herself, but to give her grandfather some comfort in his final days. One evening, as Mira sat beside him, she felt a quiet ache in her heart. She looked at the small, precious candle on the table and thought about what would happen if she used it. Would it be selfish to want a bit of warmth and light for herself? Or was it foolish to leave it unused while her beloved grandfather suffered? The storm outside seemed endless, and no one knew when the power would return. Torn between her love for her family and the fear of the future, she spent the entire night struggling with her thoughts. At dawn, Mira made a decision. She took the candle in her hands and went around to every house in the village. She knocked on doors and spoke to families who were just as scared and lonely in the darkness. She explained that she would light the candle in the village square and that anyone who wished to sit together and share its light could join her. At first, the villagers were hesitant. They were worried that Mira's family would be left in darkness if the candle burned out. But soon, one by one, they emerged from their houses, drawn by Mira's quiet hope and kindness. Some brought blankets, others brought warm tea or a little food, and together, they formed a circle around the candle. Mira lit the candle, and its gentle glow filled the village square with warmth. As the flames danced, people began to talk, sharing stories of bravery, hope, and even laughter. Sitting together, the villagers found comfort in each other's company. Parents who had been worried about their children felt reassured. Children who had been frightened by the storm found joy in the warmth of the community, and elders shared wisdom that brought peace to anxious hearts. As they shared stories, the fear of the storm seemed to fade into the background. The candle became a symbol of their unity, hope, and resilience. As the candle burned, Mira sat beside her grandfather, who had also joined the gathering. He held her hand, and whispered, "This, Mira, is the power of light. Not just the light we see with our eyes but the light within us." She realized that the light had come not just from the candle, but from the kindness, courage, and hope everyone had shown by coming together. The candle burned until morning, and when it finally went out, the storm had passed. Sunlight broke through the clouds, casting a warm glow over the village. The villagers cheered, grateful not just for the sun but for the bond they had forged during the dark hours. In the days that followed, Mira noticed that something had changed in the village. People were kinder, more considerate, and less focused on their own fears. They helped each other repair damage from the storm, shared what little they had, and spoke to one another with warmth and respect. Mira's family no longer had a candle, but they had gained something far more valuable, a community that looked after one another, that shared joy and sorrow as one. Years later, Mira grew up and became known as a wise, kind-hearted woman who led the village in times of hardship. She would tell the children the story of the last candle, teaching them the importance of compassion, bravery, and the inner light that can shine through even the darkest times. In the end, Mira learned that the true gift of light was not in the flame of the candle but in the unity it created. When people come together with kindness, they create a light that can withstand any storm. And in that mountain village, they remembered Mira's candle not as a last resort but as the first spark of a community that found its strength in togetherness.